It was good while it lasted. A $100 or $200 Claude subscription plan was typically enough for you to get a lot of work done and to build anything, because when Opus 4.7 released, they also released with it a new tokenizer that you can see them talking about on the screen, where they say that it was roughly 1 to 1.35 times more expensive depending on the content type. And second, Opus 4.7 thinks more at higher effort levels, particularly on later turns in agentic settings. So the further it goes, the longer it thinks, the more expensive it gets. They're not going to say this, but this is Fable 5 mini right here, because Fable 5 thinks for millions of tokens and it stays on task, but it gets more expensive to maintain that. It costs more fuel. It's almost as though these models are airplanes, but they're not aerodynamically designed. They're very bulky, they're very heavy, and they have to constantly feed them fuel to keep them in the air. And so they talk about different ways that you can control token usage, because they knew that Opus 4.7 was going to be more expensive and you weren't going to be able to get the mileage out of $200 a month that you used to get out of $200 a month. $100 is barely enough, and $20 at that point, if you have a $20 plan, you're just wasting your money, in my opinion. Even $100, I think you're probably wasting your money, because you're going to hit your limit. And then we know that Fable 5 has been banned by the US government, but something I really want you to understand about Fable 5 and Claude Mythos is that they're classifying these not as Opus models. These are a new class of models. They're bigger and they're more expensive. They're more difficult to keep in the air, if we stick with the airplane analogy. And so they rolled it out to everybody. And from today through June 22nd, Fable 5 is included on Pro, Max, Team, and seat-based enterprise plans at no extra cost. So it was added. It was like, hey, got a new model you guys can play with until the 22nd. So about 2 weeks they gave us. On June 23rd, we'll remove Fable 5 from those plans. Using it after that will require usage credits. If capacity allows, we'll extend the included window. So they have a compute problem, and they're essentially saying that, listen, if we have the capacity, we'll extend the included window in the first paragraph. But more likely than not, what we're going to have to do is the people who have the money to pay us to use this model are going to get priority service. After all, they are a business. But what I want you to notice is this: when you put Opus 4.7 with this new tokenizer and Opus 4.8 into the conversation, you start to see something very unique. For instance, if I open up this new task and I click right here, you can see we have Opus 4.8, Sonnet 4.6, Haiku 4.5. We have the effort, but then we have the models 4.7, and look at the bottom, Opus 4.6. Opus 4.6 is the big boy. This used to be expensive to run, and it operates under the old tokenizer. And what I've been noticing is that Anthropic has been quietly rolling out Opus 4.7, then Opus 4.8. What happens when Opus 4.9 or Opus 5 comes out? You know what's going to happen? Opus 4.6 with this old tokenizer is going to disappear. They're going to deprecate it. They're going to place so much distance and so much usage between 4.6 and these newer models that what you're going to be paying for essentially is the most expensive Opus models, as well as credit usage to use Fable 5. And with all of the psychosis around Fable 5, as good as a model it is, it's a very good model, but the psychosis and the emotional connection that people are having with the software system because of their brain's processing of words and computing them as a relational aspect of another human or person, it's going to be very difficult for us to use any of their models in the future, because people are just hyping it up to the point where they are justifying these pricing schemes and pricing models that Anthropic is going with. And they're going to be one of the first companies, in my opinion, to actually get away from a subscription-based model and lean more and more into this credit-based model where you're paying for access to AI and intelligence like you're paying for access to lights and water. The point I'm trying to make that I keep getting away from is that Fable 5 is a very good model. and people are going to want to use it. You are going to use it. You might tell yourself, I'm not going to buy credits. I'm not going to use Fable 5. I'm going to stick with Opus 4.8. But the truth of the matter is you are not. You are going to use Fable 5, especially when you're coming to YouTube, you're watching the videos, you're seeing what people are doing with it. You're listening to creators and other practitioners like myself talk about Fable 5, and people might want to start guarding what they say because people are going to be spending a lot of money on these models based on recommendations they get from different creators and people online. And the demand might become so strong for models like Fable 5 and others in the future that it's almost like paying for the API yourself. Now, Anthropic is very clear that they are an enterprise company, not a consumer company. So they primarily look to serve business owners, which is why you already see that they don't even have a viable $20 option. If you have the Claude $20 plan, you practically have zero to no limits. The only models that you can use on a consistent basis are Haiku and Sonnet. You can't use Opus, and you can't even think about using Fable 5 or any of the Mythos class models. OpenAI, on the other hand, is a consumer company, but I'm not sure that they're not going to follow Anthropic in this new trail they're blazing, because Anthropic seems to be making all the right moves despite the different setbacks that they've encountered. And it's a very popular, very valuable AI company in the eyes of the market. But let me know what you guys think. Are you going to continue to pay for AI if it ends up moving too far towards that credit usage limit for the best models, the most capable models? Or are you going to find a way to invest in setting up your own local AI with your own local systems, your own memory, etc.? Let me know what you guys think or what you guys are planning to do, how you're going to tackle this in the near future, because Fable 5 is going to be credit based and you are going to pay for those credits most likely. I just don't know how many of them you're going to buy, but you're going to want to use it. But let me know what you guys think in the comments. And as always, if you got value out of the video, make sure you hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you in the next video.